everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Kaiju Kingdom podcast. We are your hosts,
Jessica Sang.
and I am Chris Eaton. Jessica, how are you this week?
I'm doing good. I think I finally got enough rest, so I'm all pumped and wide awake for this podcast.
There is a sound of youthful energy in your voice right now.
Yes, but we're recording at 1 in the morning.
Yes, we know no time. In this dojo, there is no night in this dojo.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So you'll have a very cheerful Jessica, who's got her ode sleep, a Chris who's kind of on his way out because I need to get up for work in the morning, but because there's just so much to talk about, we had to get a show in today. So let's begin with the obvious. So the last episode we talked about the full trailer. Earlier this week, Warner Brothers decided to release yet another trailer. This was the international market trailer, which was cut, actually I think a fair bit better in many ways than the domestic trailer we got. I know, Jessica, you saw. What did you think?
I do think it's a little bit better, also because too many people, and I'm not saying he's the world's most famous actor, but too many people know who Ken Watanabe is, especially if you've been following certain pop culture movies. He pops up, if you're a fan of Nolan.
He's part of the Nolan players.
He is, and he is in the Godzilla movie. He's still this one of the main cast. So in the American trailer, to hear his voice but not see him,
yeah,
I thought was kind of odd, because we're not stupid. We know who it is. So when we actually do get to see him talking, it puts more weight on the words that he's saying, because right after he says it, you see the whole ocean turn and all that thing that's going on, and then you see things fall from the sky or whatever. But I do like it because we do get to see him, and I feel like it is only pivotal for a Japanese movie to have its Japanese actor show up in the trailer.
Yeah, it's at least send the guy a little bit of love. I think he's fourth billing down in the cast. I mean, as far as I know, after Aaron and Bryan Cranston, I think he's got the most screen time, at least character-wise.
Yes, it does. And I think we actually, if I'm not remembering it wrong, you do see Aaron Johnson with Elizabeth Olsen.
You do.
On the couch.
And it's like a nice, family moment. Even though, this time next year, everyone's going to be talking about how they're brother and sister, but you're going to see a shit ton of memes. I'm sorry. I'm trying to watch the swearing, but it is late. You're gonna see a ton of memes of much in the kin of Star Wars, where brother and sister incest, hard to avoid, and it's just gonna be shots of them from this movie.
Yes, and for those who don't know, it's because of the Marvel universe. For those, just in case you were not following, it's the exact same people casted as Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch,
who are brother and sister.
Yes, but obviously in this case, because in all the previous trailers and all the previous reiterations, we see them separately on the screen. We see her carrying a kid, or you see her doing something with a child, and she's looking up in the sky. And then you see him mostly in military uniform. So I don't want to, I love spoilers, but I didn't want to spoil too much. So I try to follow what I can. I didn't know what their relationship was, because a part of me didn't want to know because I wanted to be surprised, and a part of me kind of wanted to know, because regardless, even if they never met each other on screen, they can write a story that still makes sense.
Yeah.
But, now that we see them together on the couch, it's oh, I guess they're husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. Maybe they have a kid together, but they both look really young to have a kid together. However, there are lots of young couples now, so I guess it kind of helps establishes their relationship a little bit better.
Well, in the credits,
at least for a brief second.
Well, in the credits, they both have the same last name, and I do think there was in some of the notes that were released, they are married. Cranston is Aaron Taylor Johnson's father in the film, and then Elizabeth Olsen is Aaron Taylor Johnson's wife. So it's a family affair, if you will.
See, like, I did not check IMDb because I didn't want to know all the people that were cast in the film in case they were surprise cameos or whatever. I mean, if I read them online, then I can't unseen. I
Yeah.
cannot unsee what I saw.
As Futurama says,
However,
you've seen it, you can't unsee it.
yes, that's very true. But with IMDb, I would have to, really go through the list and scroll through and stuff. So I wanted to kind of surprise myself. But there might come a time when April rolls around and I may just have to just spoil the whole thing for myself and just be like, let's do this.
Well, other aspects, they do emphasize a lot more on the destruction porn, if you will, but it's done very tastefully. Which is what I'm calling the canceling the apocalypse speech, which seems to be like any trailer that we're getting from now on is going to have Bryan Cranston screaming like a maniac. How he's not crazy. I think that's going to be the key to any future trailers, much like the Idris Elba speech was for every Pacific Rim trailer.
Yes, it was.
And you do get the tail end, like a shot of him when he's saying it's like I'm not crazy, like to look at desperation on his face. But when he's when they're redoing the speech, they show the shot of it looks like a coastal line and just a tail mark, like just the drag mark from Godzilla's tail going into the water, which is really awesome because they have a helicopter flying over for perspective. The thing's just so damn tiny in the corner, which it was just like that's beautiful. The other thing this trailer does do is give us another glimpse of Godzilla. So instead of like the end shot where he's roaring, which is still in this trailer, they give you like a nice silhouette, like a full frontal view, if you will, of him coming into scene. There's like some lights going off in the background, it's a really nice shot. I mean, everybody that watched that at least that I've been paying attention to, loved that scene in itself. And then there's just like extensions of like other scenes we've seen in the other trailers. It was like both trailers cut together with some dusting of some newer footage, and it was just enough to make you really like, oh, okay, that works a hell of a lot better. And
right,
yeah,
right.
And we do see they do hold on, I think, a bit tighter to the shot of the giant Muto flying down into the water. I think that scene lasted just a half a second longer, which for trailer time, that's a long time.
Yes, and you were talking about like the tail drag in the water. We got to see through kind of a grassy field a destruction path.
Yeah.
And I've always liked that because for some reason I was thinking, is it the American Tall Tale of Paul Bunyan when he makes the Grand Canyon by dragging his axe?
Yes, it was.
Ground?
Yeah, he makes the Grand Canyon, and then he's responsible for like 4 or 5 different like great natural landmarks.
Yeah, but I kind of like it reminded me a little bit of that. Look at that, we're throwing in Tall Tale American history we learned as children. There's that. No, and during the American trailer, I always thought, I pictured it as Bryan Cranston giving the whole speech like it's not a natural disaster, you're lying. I see him telling it to in a tent or something in front of a commanding officer of the military. But in this case, he's in a house, just like talking to somebody, I guess with like really kind of crazy like flop hair. And I was like, oh, it's the mad scientist look.
He looks like, he's got that look of a man who has just a severe dysentery problem at the moment. Like he's just sweating. He looks like he's got to go to the bathroom real bad. Like maybe he's been going to the bathroom real bad for a couple of hours now. Just the real flop sweat look, which just adds to the nice insanity performance. So, again, I've been telling people who think the movie's not going to do that great. Well, with each passing trailer, it seems like more and more people are interested. But getting Bryan Cranston right now for this movie was like almost a kismet. It was just perfect timing because everyone's going to go see the first thing that he does after Breaking Bad. So it's like, oh, hey, it's Godzilla. So we're all going to go watch Godzilla. Yeah. So that's about that for that trailer. If you haven't watched it yet, go watch it. I'm not going to play the the sound over because it's almost the same as the last trailer. So you just begin a repeat of what you've already heard. Oh, in related news though, we got not one but two posters in the last 2 days. Jessica, did you get a chance to check these out?
I did get a chance to check out the trailers. Excuse me, the posters.
Mm-hmm.
You guys, it is still 1 something in the morning. I actually really liked the one that we saw where it's kind of a almost profile shot,
Mm-hmm.
but you got to see more. I mean, you still get to see the spikes on the back, the plates on his back, but you saw a little bit more of Godzilla's face.
Mm-hmm.
But like about 2/3 down on top of a building is the shot of all the military men shooting out the red flares.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think red is a very powerful image
Mm-hmm.
color. It is it's both a powerful image and a very powerful color. So together, I guess I said the word power image. But because that's what most people remembered from the very first teaser trailer,
Mm-hmm.
is the whole weird, the whole speech inside of the aircraft, and then they jump out and they go down and all you see is red. Then people remember them shooting in the next trailer the red flares into the sky, and then that's when you saw, I would only say, the wall of Godzilla's side
Yeah.
of his body move with maybe a thigh. I'm not so sure. However, people remember the red.
Well, they
So
do. Well,
people really love that because they thought
Mhm.
it looked so great, and like you said, it looks like a beautiful painting.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's up in the background, and that's what the current poster looks like.
Yeah.
It's a lot of red
A lot of orange too.
and a lot of orange, yes.
Which is
And black.
apparently someone did a comparison of like posters for big movies from the last I think like 5 or 6 years, and that the orange and red motif seems to be like a big standard amongst them. And I guess it's because I guess there was like a study that the human eye remembers colors a lot more than other colors, and I guess red and orange were like amongst like ones that really kind of just like dig deep into the psyche.
Yes, and even if, throughout history and certain communism,
Mm-hmm.
colors is red, and also in The Matrix, the woman in red.
That's true. The Matrix.
When they walk by, yes.
Were you listening to me, Mr.
Now it
Anderson?
brings back all kinds of money.
Or were you paying
I was
attention
like,
to the woman in red?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Look
Now
again.
we're bringing back all kinds of memories.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So the red is really big. So I think it was a smart thing to do.
Actually, I would say that this poster is probably even more epic than the last poster. Of not the one that was released like the day before, which is just like the repurposing of the back end and the tail inside of just a destruction scene of San Francisco. Because they used that image in one of the early marketing materials after Comic-Con. But the one where it's just Godzilla's back and you see the Halo jumpers coming down, I think this one works a hell of a lot better. It's just kind of like just the profile view. It's in the Final Wars kind of stance for that poster. If again, just look it up if you don't know what I'm talking about. But it also just reeks of something like there is going to be some just you're not ready for what's coming. It's just going to be just a mountain of badass ready to slap you in the face.
Right. Yeah, but no, I really, really like the posters that have been coming out.
It just means
So far, I haven't seen one where I didn't like.
No,
Where I was like, not going on my wall, but I'll take the other one.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, they've still been coy about showing his full face, but I think it's all being done on purpose, and it's not done to the extent of what the Sony movie at least never did, where you just got a foot and that was it. But which I never understood that that really showed that's like, well, we don't have much else going on for this film other than we completely redesigned him, so you're gonna have to go watch the movie to go see what he looks like. Now, yeah, great marketing ploy, but in the end, I think it kind of bit him in the ass.
Right.
It's
right.
just so many people were just like, that's it, and we waited a year for that because there was a year from, actually 10 months from that first trailer, which was on Men in Black, the first Men in Black, to the Memorial Day weekend. So, yeah, and 4 trailers in between. Yeah, everyone was just like, okay. So, at least this way, it's at least Legendary's been smart. It's like, yeah, okay, he's gonna look like Godzilla. He's not gonna look like the TriStar one. So, if you're going to pay to see a Godzilla movie, you're going to get to see Godzilla. Which,
Right.
good on them. And before we cap off on that, I don't know if you heard the news that came out today. Thomas Tull, head of Legendary Pictures, he was doing some press work, and someone had asked him about the status of Pacific Rim 2. Did you hear about this?
They said that here's to hoping. It looks promising, hopefully.
Looks very promising, because he did bring up other franchises, and I put the air quotes. I know you can't see him. He compared the opening of Pacific Rim to Fast and Furious, to the Batman series, which they were also responsible for, and there was one other one. I don't have it in front of me at the time, but he was pointing out.
Was it Man of Steel?
It might have been Man of Steel. I'm not 100% sure. I don't think it was Man of Steel, because Man of Steel did make more that year, but he was basing on like original, or first timers. Right. So, as he put, he's like, well, look, we made Batman Begins, and that did like 287 million worldwide, and then we did The Dark Knight, which made $1 billion worldwide. So, Pacific Rim, out of like all of our stuff, especially considering it was original, it's it did fairly well worldwide. 400 million. That's nothing to gawk at. So that says that I think if Godzilla does exceptionally well, which it looks like it's tracking very well, that they're gonna at least they'll at least consider doing more stuff with Pacific Rim, whether or not it be part 2. That's up in the air. But I'm not holding out hope for Guillermo del Toro returning to direct. He'll probably be in a producing way, because he's got like still 4 or 5 things lined up that he says he's going to do, and I think one of those is still the Justice League Dark film, if that ever really comes to fruition.
I hope so. I look forward to seeing a Justice League Dark film.
And honestly, I would rather see him do Justice League Dark than come back and do Pacific Rim 2. Pacific Rim is one of those, now that he set the universe up, it's now you can send someone else in who's capable to kind of take the ball and run with it, and add their own little things.
Exactly, and we've already seen what he is capable of doing with Pacific Rim. So I would like to see that same capability over to a Justice League Dark film.
Yes, because he's going to do something really awesome with Constantine and Deadman and Swamp Thing and Zatanna. Like that movie was tailor-made. That property was tailor-made for him. And the whole fact that it came out of, I think it was just a made-up online rumor that actually took, some sort of life. If I'm correct, because I think someone brought up that he was going to do that movie, and then he said, "I don't know what you're talking about." And then like 3 days later, he's like, "Well, you brought up a good idea, so I pitched it." And Warner Brothers said, "Okay, well, let's see how you do with these next couple films and where Superman goes." And yeah, there's no reason we can't do it.
Now, yeah, I didn't follow it like that through like a rumor mill. I waited. I didn't see it until he actually announced it or he wrote something about it, because I wanted to take that a little bit more as belief, as truth, I guess I would say. But that would be great, if he got like a fan reaction and he pitched it and they were like, you know what, actually, that kind of clicks. Yeah, we'll see where it goes.
I'm pretty sure he put it's like, what are you guys doing with these characters anyway? Let me do something. Give me like a modest $80 million budget. I could work wonders.
Give me the budget of 2 Veronica Mars films, and we're gonna crab out something great.
Yeah, except this one you don't need to invest in a Kickstarter for.
That's true. That's true.
Well, yeah, hopeful for Pacific Rim 2 of some sort. I honestly want, I would love to see them do an animated movie of it, maybe in an anime, style. But you can at least get everyone come back to voice it. Like you could do a prequel film and do like the whole Kaiju war, the stuff we didn't get to see.
Is it like an Animatrix style?
Yes, like you could do several. You could show like the early years of Stacker inside Coyote Tango, taking on Kaijus. You could show, the rise and fall of what was it? Oh, Tactic Ronin. Just a lot of people like saw that design. They're just like, what? Let's see some more of that. We're gonna have to do an episode dedicated to the original script one day because I have it, and it is fascinating beyond belief. Just what stayed and what changed, and the fact that Tactic Ronin was the Striker Eureka of that original script. So put that down as something to do later. We'll talk about that at a later date.
Yeah.
So other news, Jessica. Remember a couple? Did we talk about Enormous on the podcast? I don't remember because there was that gap in between there.
I'm not so sure, but I think now is the best time than ever to talk about it. If we didn't touch upon it in the past podcast.
All right. Well, give the good people a quick recap of what Enormous actually is.
Enormous is actually a graphic novel
Mm-hmm.
that talks about kind of something has happened to our world,
Mm-hmm.
and it's every creature we know now is monstrous, hence the title Enormous.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look up Enormous comic on Google, you will go to the actual comic book site, and it'll show you quick glimpse and galleries of like a giant bat, a monstrous insect, basically creatures that we are very familiar with, whether it's from the local zoo
Mm-hmm.
or biology class, but now they're in a very, very large format, in a grotesque format. And you find out what's actually happening to the people, to the humans. And what we find very interesting is the main character, her name is Ellen,
Mm-hmm.
straight-haired beauty, whatever. She's actually a lesbian.
Mm-hmm.
And her partner, her girlfriend, is Megan. And then, of course, there's surrounding characters. So she is one of the more prominent characters where she represents the LGBT
Mm-hmm.
community. However, with that being said, a lot of it that's really great is the feedback is people are actually more interested about the comic, the storyline, the Walking Dead-esque of it, than the fact that the lead character is a lesbian. Because some people will make a big deal out of something that shouldn't be.
Yeah,
But people are actually...
It's a bit of a dying art, I think, too. I think just to raise ruckus about something that a lot of people just kind of go, to anymore is just, it's... In like 10 years, that's going to be completely like out the window. Nobody's going to really give a crap.
Yes, and it's actually done really well. So it was done, people accepted the character of Ellen and
Mm-hmm.
Megan and all the wonderful characters. It was done in kind of a one-shot. It's actually coming back as a continued series
Mm-hmm.
starting this June, I believe.
Okay.
If I am remembering the timeline correctly, which counteracts a great point because when several comic book news sites, top media, pop culture sites interviewed the, creator and the artist, they said, this is great because we are kind of in the wind of movies like Pacific Rim and Cloverfield and various films, and a new Godzilla movie is coming out.
Mm.
This is a great time than any to do it because the trailer that Chris was speaking of is Machinima,
Mm-hmm.
wonderful site, had backed it and are now hosting, if not showing, the exclusive kind of webisodes. They're all live action, mind you guys. So this is live action. It's not a motion comic. So it's their live action webisodes. And they started, Chris had talked, offline when we were getting ready for the podcast, you guys, is the first episode premiere today. And so, from there, we were actually going to talk about the trailer so you guys are kind of prepared so you guys might know what you guys will expect from the webisodes. And I think it's a great idea because it's something where, if you don't have the budget to make it into a film or, a network isn't going to pick it up because there's only so many days and time slots in a week. A webisode is great because that hits millions of people at once. And it was something that the creators were very proud of because they were like, in our comic, the budget is just paying the artists and the writers. We don't need $100 million budget to show a ginormous kaiju just going through a building. And it was so well received, and it was so, well loved, and it was pitched really great. That's how it got its start as a web series, which I thought was a great idea, because there are several, movies, I think District 9 and a few others, that started as fan films or webisodes.
They were,
and then it got picked up into
they
something
were
larger, or a student film or something, and
Yeah.
then it got picked up into something larger.
Yeah, there was like a whole from '09 to 2011, there was like a slew of online shorts that got turned into big screen versions. District 9 was one of them. Um, 9, the actual movie about the little dolls that came to life. That was one of them too. The original was actually far darker than what the movie turned out to be too. But it was brilliant because it was all like a silent film, just about this little doll fighting this creepy cat skeleton thing that was like stitched together with a bunch of like steampunk parts. So yes, so the trailer came out about a week ago, right after we recorded the last episode, so we didn't get a chance to talk about it. It gives you just the basic rundown of the concept, which is it's essentially to boil it down to its core. It's Walking Dead meets Cloverfield. Am I being apt with that?
Yeah. I mean, even in the interviews or the way people describe them, they call it Walking Dead-esque.
Yeah.
As for yeah, I would say Cloverfield.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So the pilot, so the trailer actually kind of sold it on that concept. It seemed a little hastily cut together. I mean, they're really Machinima's kind of pushing it as this is like our next big thing. Literally, the title be damned. It's literally where this is going to be our big thing. Reading up on it though, it looks like it's not. It hasn't gone to series yet. Like only the pilot was done, and the pilot that came out today is only like 9 minutes long. So which is actually kind of long for a web show, considering that their major platform is YouTube, and YouTube only allows like 10 to 12 minutes for an average account, unless you got like the super paid account that allows you to do like those hideous 10.5-hour loop music videos of hey, they're taking the Hobbits to Isengard for 9 hours in length. So let me gather my thoughts here again. A little tired. So the trailer, yeah, it sells it on that. Sells it on the fact that it's also written by the guy that the screenplay for the pilot was written by Andrew Overndell, who's the guy that made Troll Hunter, a fantastic movie if you have not seen it. It's on Netflix. Go watch it. It would be right up to any Kaiju Files alley. But he wrote it, and it's directed by a guy named Ben David Grabinski. I think I'm saying that right. So you just so I watched most of it earlier before we got on. It's pretty decent. It's about what you would expect of acting of a web show, and the effects are all right. I mean, clearly it's done on a minuscule budget. You get to see one kaiju-esque creature towards the end. They do leave it open. They give you just the basic rundown. It's pretty much that they focus a lot more on the Walking Dead aspect of where the people are more bastards than the actual giant monsters that have kind of destroyed the world. So it's kind of like humanity boils down to just a bunch of a-holes running around and screwing, like stabbing each other in the back just to survive. And there's like the group of people still trying to do some good, while to keep that bright spot of humanity alive while giant monsters are running around.
Right.
Okay, sorry, were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to add, just in case people were wondering, the person who created this whole giant monsters destroying all things story is Tim Daniel, and that the series will be picked up in comic format May 2014, because it was released before as a one-shot by Image.
Yeah.
But now, with the whole web series coming and Godzilla, Pacific Rim, The Mist, all that, it will be now released through 215 Inc.,
Mm-hmm.
215 Inc., so you guys can go and Google that. But yeah, Tim Daniel is the person who, began creating Enormous, and he is very proud of what he's done. I think he's gotten pretty good reviews on it.
Well, I've yet to I've looked at some of the art for the comic. The art's great. I haven't really got a chance to read it because turns out it's not exactly the one shot's not that easy to track down right now. I've looked up a couple of comic stores like, yeah, I don't even know what the hell you're talking about. So I'm pretty sure if it's going to series, the one did you say the one shot's getting re-released?
Yeah, well, it's more like the series is continuing.
Okay. So whatever
That's what it is.
the plot they set up will be continued on with the new series.
I think what people should do is contact 215 Inc.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're looking for something well, obviously let your local retailers know.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can just email or contact Image Comics themselves, because a lot of places may have back issues, or they may have issues that they haven't sold, and they would be willing to find some way to communicate with you and get that to you.
Any comic store, I'm just about to say any comic store worth its salt would have good. It has a good back issue catalog.
Yeah. But yeah, I've done back issue cataloging, and also I've gotten straight through the publisher, unless they're DC Marvel.
Yeah.
They're very large. You'll find their stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, if it's like a Dark Horse or or IDW or Top Cow, sometimes if a retailer for whatever reason just can't get it and you don't want to pay eBay prices, sometimes they have great customer service, and independent publishers are willing to kind of work with you, because every fan counts. Every reader counts.
Oni is like that. They're real good like that. The only problem is though some of their, like I was looking for James Stoick's wonton soup, and they're just like, yeah, we don't have that anymore. So, but I think because of the popularity of his work taking off again, especially after his Godzilla run, I do believe they're reissuing that series. So I'm very giddy because I only have Volume 2, and I've been wanting to read Volume 1 for a long time now.
Yay!
Which we need to talk. That's another episode. We need to talk about that comic series because
yes,
God, it was so good. It was so good. So anyway, yeah. Right now, from back to Enormous. From what I'm reading, depending on the feedback of the pilot, is whether or not Machinima plans to continue forward with the series. They're working on a Halo series. I know right now. I know Machinima's really kind of gearing up to be one of the forerunners of online original series. Think of a micro version of what Netflix is doing right now, or say,
I was gonna say Netflix Junior for the internet.
Yeah,
baby Netflix,
or Amazon Prime. But they're actually using Amazon Prime's mode of determining pilots that go to order. Excuse me. From what I know, Amazon Prime, they get 8 or 9 pilots, and they have them made, and then they throw them out there, and they're like, okay, just watch these, and leave us feedback, and then based on your feedback, we will move forward. That's how the Zombieland pilot got squashed out of existence, because they put it up there, and everyone just took a massive just turd on it, and I remember poor Rhett Reese, one of the writers, he went on the day that Amazon said, yeah, no, this isn't happening. He said, thanks everyone, you hated Zombieland out of existence.
Oh.
Yeah, because he was so up on the show. He's like, oh man, I know it's not Jesse or Woody and all these guys, but look, it's the characters. They're all back. I mean, because you got to remember, we originally envisioned this as a series for CBS, so it's finally coming to fruition. And then that pilot came out. I didn't get a chance to watch it myself, but everyone I talked to was like, yeah, it is not the movie whatsoever. So and just a shower of hate came at it, just like a bunch of ninja stars in the night, just all into its chest until it fell over, and then one sigh, Raph style, into the head, just to make sure that it never came back.
Oh, I felt so bad.
But
yeah,
it is an interesting way though to get pilots out there, because if you don't know how networks run, what they do is they order pilots. they give, the show like $2 million or $1 million to produce the pilot. Animated pilots usually run, anywhere from 8 to 15 minutes, and a full pilot's like 22 minutes for like a live action show. Or like if it's an hour, it's 40 minutes. And pretty much only the people at the networks get to watch these things, and then they'll look at it like, yeah, no, we're gonna pass. And those, unless someone sneaks into the archives and releases them, those never get out. And you just think, it's like, why would you spend so much money on something and then not bother to release it, at least for people to look at it and decide? Amazon took the obvious and have moved with it, and Machinima's doing the same thing, and it's actually pretty brilliant. So I did post the pilot on our Facebook page. So if you want to go watch it after you hear this, go check it out there. If you haven't, just give it a chance. It's not too bad. It has potential, but I think it needs a little time to blossom.
How close is it to the production quality of Asylum films? Are we talking about?
Oh, I would say at least it's a little bit better than Asylum. The acting's all right. The acting's very middle ground. I mean, it's these are they're people who have actually been in films and stuff before, but it also feels very just a little tongue in cheek. But again, these are people who probably aren't going to win an Academy Award anytime soon. So they're just going, it's like, this is what Walking Dead's doing, so we'll just kind of follow suit. The kaiju that they do show at the end, like the effects are far better than what Asylums usually are. It's a big gill man looking creature that shows up at the end, but just the about minute and a half it's on screen, it's not too bad. Like you look at it, it's like, oh, okay, I think depending on the avenue of which you see something, it always gives you it always gives it a curve of how you judge it. So whenever I'm looking at something made for online, I'm like, okay, well, it's not, they don't have the money that, say, a television, network would have. So I give them a little bit of leeway. It looked like it cost probably like, $50,000 to make, which is still a lot, but, they made do with what they had.
Right, right. So, yeah, I mean, it's smart that they're doing the Amazon Prime way. That also reminded me when the Monsters came out, the one with Jerry O'Connell, I think, and Eddie Izzard, and they called it Mockingbird Lane.
Yeah, Brian Fuller's. Brian Fuller actually had a lot of hope for that show. Like, he was just like...
Oh, my God. It was actually really good.
It was really good.
I really liked it. And then it never and then the announcement came, and Jesse had a sad day.
I always feel bad for Jerry O'Connell. It's like, he never has anything that lasts. Like, the last thing that lasts of any sort was Sliders. That's been almost 20 years.
Is he the male Summer Glau?
Yeah, I would say he is. But at least he has a bit of a bit of a humor about it. 'Cause did you hear about what he did when Shia LaBeouf went nuts a couple weeks ago and did that whole living art gallery thing down in L.A.?
No, was it? Okay, the Living Art Gallery I didn't hear. I know the one where he had the paper bag over his head that says,
that's what. Okay, yeah, that's what it was. It was the hashtag I'm sorry. And okay, so pretty much what you did was you would line up, you would go into this art gallery, and on the door said hashtag I'm sorry, and then you would grab like an item out of a bowl. It'd be something from one of his movies, like a little crystal skull or a Transformer toy or something like that. And then you would walk into a room, and sitting at the far end of the room, wearing a paper bag that says I'm not famous on it, would be Shia LaBeouf. You would sit there, and there'd be like a weird moment of silence, and then he'd be like, well, okay, go ask him a question. And you would ask him something, and he would open up, and he would tell you, he would talk to you and stuff like that. And then when your time was up, you'd get up, and as you're walking out, he would lift the bag to show you that it was actually him the whole time talking to you. You're not being duped. So, Funny or Die, podcast host, I forgot his name, but he has a show on the Smodcast Network. It's on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember at the moment. But they got together. They're like, okay, we have to do something. So they rented the space literally right next door to the space where Shia LaBeouf is doing his thing. And they call it Jerry O'Connell. It's like, dude, what are you doing today? It's like, I'm just watching the kids. Can you come down here? We're going to make fun of Shia LaBeouf. I'm on it. Heads down there. They do within like 6 hours they have the whole place set up. So while everyone's waiting in line for Shia LaBeouf, people start like, hey, you gotta come over here and look at this. So the name of the exhibit was hashtag I am not sorry. You would go in and then you would pick up like a DVD of like Tomcats or or Stand By Me, and you would go into a room where a man wearing a bag on his head would be sitting, and you would sit down and you would start asking a question. And unlike Shia LaBeouf, where he was very, kind of, he held back a bit, Jerry O'Connell would go on about how awesome Jerry O'Connell was, and how awesome Jerry O'Connell is, and how awesome all of his movies are, and he would not shut up either. It was, when I heard this, I'm like, this just makes me love this man even more so. Because he was just
Yes.
he like everybody that went in, so like sometimes he would go on like too long. Like there was one guy that was in there for like a half hour with him. He was just going on about the filming process of Tomcats and what it was like to work with Jake Busey. But then he takes off the bag like halfway through, and he's just sitting there talking. And he's just like, yeah, so when I was working on Stand By Me, or when I was working on and he just has like the biggest grin on his face about doing the whole thing too. So automatically, Jerry O'Connell became one of my heroes. Not for the fact that I love sliders as a child, but it's the fact that like he kind of knows where he's at in Hollywood, and he's not afraid to poke fun at it.
Yeah. Yeah, and he got Rebecca Romaine.
That he
Came out.
did. That he did. Post Uncle Jesse too, which is a big catch.
Yep. Yep, and she seems like a very nice person, and they seem to be really in love with a wonderful family. So
They've been together for
I
like
was kind of
almost
yeah.
10 years now, which is like that's a century in Hollywood time.
Yeah. So he's got it all figured out.
Mm-hmm.
At least more than Shia LaBeouf. It seems like. Well, that was really hilarious. I didn't know when you picked up those items. Were you supposed to just hold them, or were you supposed to chuck them at Shia LaBeouf?
I think you just hold them, and it would be the conversation starter. I think that's what the idea was. Be like, so you're in Transformers. How was that? And then he would talk about that.
He was not afraid of being shot. Is that?
I think there was a pat down before you went in. I know they didn't allow cameras. I know the cameras were like a no, so I think they checked for cell phones and stuff like that.
Okay, because that would be the first thing.
Yeah.
I would be really afraid of.
There's obviously that element of someone just like, I feel like being infamous today. I'm going to go shoot Shia LaBeouf. That sounds like an idea.
And he's got a paper bag over his head, so he wouldn't even see it coming.
Nope.
Yeah. That was the first thing I thought of. Oh, my God, that's hilarious. But, yeah. So that was our segue from failed pilots and how pilots are made from Amazon Prime.
Go give Enormous a little love. Just at least check it out for the sake of curiosity. Real quick. Toys. I don't know. I've been on a hunt for the last couple of weeks since I've heard that they've been hitting shelves, but so far, alas, no Toys R Us in the greater Los Angeles area has broken the embargo of putting out the Bandai Godzilla movie figures yet, even though I see on a daily basis someone on Facebook posting, hey, I found the giant Jax figure, or I got this already. I'm just like, you gotta just shove a fork in my eye about it every time. So at least the full lineup's been announced. The toy embargo is completely gone, so we know what's coming out. Bandai has a very minor few things in comparison to what I would expect this film to have. They have two kind of like mid-sized Godzilla figures. One is the Atomic Roar, Atomic Roar, where you push the back and he like leans forward, and then like a solid piece of plastic shoots out of his mouth. His like head flips up like a Pez container, and like a solid like piece of blue beam shoots out. So it's actually a really cool function, but posability and stuff like that looks like it's very limited. They have a tail wag, version where it's like, oh, you could set up boxes and knock them over. Then there's the Destruction Pack, which is what we saw the Muto figure on the first time. There's that, and then there's two little chibi figures, which are the tiny, super deformed, cutesy ones. I think that these are like right up Jessica's alley. You like that kind of stuff, don't you?
I was gonna like squeeze.
Yeah.
That's also stuff that I like.
You like tiny, cute, and almost like plush form.
Yes, yes. I mean, I love the Jax figures and everything, but I mean, it's my genetics. It's in my gender and genetics. I must have it. I can't speak for other women, but I know that I must have it.
Well, they got two of the chibi sets. They have one of Godzilla. I posted one of them on the page. He's kind of looking to the side and roaring. Got big, bright yellow eyes. And then there's a Muto, which they just call like Muto. And then there's a second set where Godzilla's in a different pose, and then you get what they call the Wing Muto, which there's no wings on it whatsoever, but there is a slight difference between the two. And it just looks like they took the gray arms to kind of hang over on the main Muto figure, and then those just kind of turn into like appendages for the wings that just kind of shoot out of the back. So that's really all that Bandai has to offer right now. I don't know if they're going to do anything in the line of what they do with the classic figures, like the vinyl figures that you can buy like at Toys R Us right now, which are just almost weird imports of the Japanese vinyl figures, or if they're going to just even make a regular sized Muto figure to fight with Godzilla. Because that's the one thing that George and I, especially George, who hosts the other podcast with me over on the Realmcast, when it comes to toys, when they release a line, the biggest the biggest offender of this stuff is usually Marvel. And when they release something, especially movie related, they never have any bad guys for your good guys to fight. So if you're a kid and you have a Captain America and you got a Bucky, there's nobody. They never release like, hey, Nazi Soldier 1 or Hydra Soldier 2 or a Red Skull figure. There's like nobody for them. So it's like, well, okay, Captain America and Bucky can go have Coke somewhere and read a paper, but there's like nothing for them to do unless you're gonna mash them up Toy Story style with other stuff. There's like no big Muto figure so far. Now that doesn't mean they don't have one waiting in the wings, but I would assume that on your main launch you're going to have at least something for the bigger Godzilla figures to fight. And nothing so far. So, yeah, just a tad disappointing on Bandai's end. Again, this is just coming from the fact that this is all that's been announced so far. The giant Jax figure is out there, and it actually does look pretty cool. Did you get to see any more pictures of that thing out there, Jessica?
I did. I did, and I think it's really awesome. From pictures originally, you can't really tell the size unless you put it next to, I guess, a can of root beer or something like that. However, now with people holding it or seeing it on the shelf next to other toys, you have a better comparison.
It's like
and it's pretty big.
It's like holding a toddler, pretty much.
It is. I love it both in that version. Again, I wish it comes in a plush version. But, I do like it. And it is like, actually, holy crap, that is big.
Yeah. What is it? Matt Frank, the artist, managed to snag one. And he took a picture of it up on his shelf of like big figures. So it's standing to the left of... so that figure standing to the left of the original Mattel Shogun Warrior figure, which was a pretty big figure in its own. And then to the right of that is the Trendmasters American Godzilla, which was... They had the giant Ultimate Godzilla, which I have somewhere, but it's sadly broken. Every time I look at it, I get depressed. Which was a huge, big chunk of toy in its own. It was like 2 foot tall, and it weighed like 8-10 pounds. It was massive, and it is. If anything that made up for that movie was that figure. That figure was awesome, and this thing towers over that figure. But yeah. So. Oh, also that, you mentioned the NECA stuff. NECA finally revealed the American line, or the American version of Godzilla that they're putting out. It looks pretty much in line of, NECA's usual products. It looks pretty good. They are going to have a 12-inch one, which is in line with the Pacific Rim figures. So your Godzilla that you get from NECA this June, they said it's not coming out in May, it's coming out about June, July, will go perfectly in line with the Pacific Rim figure. So you can actually have the fantasy mashup. So you can have Gypsy Danger fighting Godzilla. which is pretty cool.
That would be pretty awesome.
And then they're going to do a 24-inch figure, which is far bigger. And price point, the 12-inch I think is going to be about 25, which is about average. Or no, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of the resale price. I think they had it at like $14.99, and then the 24-inch I think is going to be either $39.99 or $49.99, which still isn't too bad considering that the giant Gypsy Danger figure that they put out was almost $90 just retail on its own. So, but yeah, they both look pretty cool. The paint job on the smaller figures, the only one that they have shown. The larger one's still like in a hard copy. The difference is just in the details, as far as I can tell. The larger figure has just far more detailing in the in the skin texture and everything compared to the little guy. But again, what am I saying? I'm gonna buy both of them anyway, so my wallet's gonna be very, very hurt. It's just gonna hurt like it just got caned, up until Comic-Con.
Oh no, Comic-Con, if not wise with your money management, you will be out.
Yeah, there's just the Play Arts Kai has so far most of my money when I walk into those doors. There's just so many of those DC figures I gotta get, though they make awesome stuff. But yeah, all right. Big news to close out the show. We haven't talked much about the Superman to Godzilla's Batman, the counterpart, if you will. One giant turtle known as Gamera. Probably it's the most well-known inside of our circle, if you will. Does have about 12 movies, I believe. I think that's about right. And he is turning 50 next year, because the first Gamera movie came out in 1965. And everyone was kind of wondering, with Godzilla coming out, are we going to see anything, at least on the Japanese side? If not Gamera, is there going to be any more, homemade kaiju films? And we learned this week that yes, there is indeed a new Gamera film showing up, and it's going to be a 50th anniversary film.
Yep.
So here are the details. Thanks to August Ragone's blog, The Good, the Bad, and the Godzilla. He has a breakdown of it, so here are the plot points that they have known so far. Okay, I'm probably going to butcher their name because I'm really bad at this stuff. But Kadokawa Studios. If everyone's yelling at me, it's like, no, you said it wrong. Mind you, it is 2:15 in the morning as I'm reading this. They have announced they will be doing a 50th anniversary Gamera film. It'll be the first since 2002's Gamera the Brave. And it has already gone into production, or it's in pre-production right now. And the tagline is there's something out there. So they're obviously aping the American Godzilla in that way. Like, it looks like it's gonna be a complete reboot of from at least what Gamera the Brave left off, or the 90s Shizuka Kanako series. The Gamera in this production will come to life and they put it in parentheses, new surprising form. So pretty much he's probably going to get a huge redesign. Hopefully, akin to the 90s films, which the look for part 3 is the look I love. It's being produced by Shinigori Takitera. Again, I apologize if I'm butchering the hell out of these names. He's gonna be directing, it looks like, as well. He was producer on the Kamen Rider Kuga series from 2000 and the Dimension series, which I never got a chance to watch. Which everyone told me it was like it combined the best elements of Korean soap operas with like giant monsters. Did you ever see that? Have you ever watched Dimension? The 3 Dimension films?
I have. I'm gonna say I'm not so sure what's going on all the time.
The
But I think you have a pretty accurate description of what it is.
mhm.
But you and I will have to sit together and watch more of
I've
it.
been looking for like at least some sort of. Somebody had them at one point. I didn't pick them up, and then like it came out and then it just kind of disappeared. Like nobody really was like reporting on it. And then I saw clips of it on YouTube. Like no one put like a video up, but when I started reading through, it's like there is like so much stuff that they added to it. Literally became a soap opera based around almost like it had like a Sentai setup, almost very not power, not like in the Power Rangers sense, but more like the Kamen Rider sense. But there was some giant monster action in it.
Yeah.
And then they also said that the narrative is set in modern day and pre-production is underway. So hopefully,
Yeah. So pre-production started in February.
oh wow, so
I
yeah, so
believe.
they're way into it already. So hopefully
So,
by
if you're going to get ready for 2015, I think February 2014 is pretty good
yeah,
to start.
there's no set release date on it yet, other than what they have announced. So I'm assuming it's probably going to be like mid. The Gamera films did come out about April or May, so I'm going to take a gander that's going to be around that time.
Right.
The last one, okay, so we had the 90s series, which started with Gamera Guardian of the Universe, then there was Advent of Legion, and then it ended with Revenge of Iris, which was the first, like, sub-giant monster movie I got to see in a theater. I saw that at the 99 G-Fest. They hosted that at the Egyptian. That was an awesome screening. Excuse me. Those films were dark as hell, and they kind of set the standard of what, like, oh, why don't they do like Godzilla movies this way? They kind of came close when they let the director of that film do Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, but even then, they still never kind of hit the apex that the '90s Gamera series did. And then when that series ended, they took like a couple years off, and they're like, "Oh, hey, we're gonna do a one more Gamera film," and they decided to try to have their cake and eat it too. So they tried to keep kind of some of the gritty kind of like effects of the '90s series, but make it more like kid friendly, like the original '60s series was. It had mixed results. I still liked it. I thought it was a fun film, and it kept the one element of all the Gamera films, which the Gamera films are bloody as hell for a giant monster film. Even the original like '60s series, like Gamera gets like shivved like a prison inmate at least 15 times in the 7 movies that they made. Like there's not one movie that goes by where his arm isn't cut open and he's bleeding like a teenage runaway who's trying to kill herself, or he's not stabbed in the chest, or he's not stabbed in the back, or he's impaled on something. And
yeah, and I love it because the tagline is "Friends of the Children."
yes, yeah, and these are all kids movies too. And they're just like the producers. They have small children in these, and they're just like, yeah, Gamera gets his arm cut off. It's no big deal. There's just green blood squirting everywhere. That's the one aspect that I loved most out of the Gamera, especially that '60 series, which was just bonkers insane at some points. Watch Gamera versus Giran. It is mind-numbingly bad, but it's like you couldn't do drugs to see this kind of movie. Like this came out of somebody's imagination sober. The '90s series, at least they're like, okay, these are going to be aimed at an older audience, but they kept the level of violence up there just the right amount. Especially like when they reintroduced Gauss, and it was just that you just show them like offing people, like grabbing them, and like you didn't get like the full like of people being torn apart, but there was a lot of that implied. But still, a lot of like masochism done to Gamera, just like arm cut open, just chest cut open, all kinds of stuff.
I know, and it's terrible because he looks like children are very good at relating something to something.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you as an adult cannot see their representative, they'll be like, oh, a giraffe is a fuzzy Brontosaurus. And you're like, what? No, it's not. And then you realize it's because it's got a long neck.
Yeah.
So children can put 2 and 2. I think Godzilla doesn't really look like, it looks like a dinosaur, but there are no dinosaurs now.
Yeah.
I mean, I can talk about cryptozoology, but that's another podcast.
Mm-hmm.
However, Gamera looks like a turtle
Yeah.
or tortoise,
Yeah.
whichever one you want to go with. So I can't imagine children seeing these and then going to their local zoo somewhere in Japan and then seeing a poor little tortoise and they're just having like post-traumatic flashbacks
Well,
of its like shell cutting up. And they're like, no, little baby Gamera,
yeah.
what is happening to you?
Well,
because it looks like an actual creature that we do have that's currently present on our planet
Mhm.
Earth.
Well, considering
So, I mean,
well, especially
scary.
considering that the last Gamera movie, Gamera the Brave, Gamera does hatch as a tiny little tortoise, and they do have scenes of him with the kids like take them out, and he starts developing like the ability to fly. So they have this little CGI tiny tortoise with like his legs tucked in, and he's like hovering on jets and stuff. And there's a lot of that, and then like he disappears for like 20 minutes. He comes back. He's the size of like a 3-story building, and then there's a giant frilled lizard-looking creature, which I always thought was their stab at Jiris from Ultraman, because
Yeah.
he actually has a similar name too. So I think it is actually Jiris. I'm gonna look that up real quick. But yeah, I mean that thing's literally like smashing and eating people throughout the whole film. And it's bloody as hell, and I'm just like, this is a kids movie. I love it. I love the madness of it. God bless the Japanese. So
Yes. And the next thing you know, you've got little kids, tossing their pet tortoise in the air, hoping that little dude will fly. And then it's just like unintentional, turtle massacre is happening everywhere. However, like it looks, so I'm just kind of like, oh, we'll see how this film in 2015 turns out.
Which is the kaiju was called Zetas, which was a really cool design. Like this movie had a lot of great potential. It just lagged a little bit in the middle, but the final scene, like the final battles at the end, was exceptionally well done. Like the whole fight between young Gamera or immature Gamera versus Zetas was like it was on par with just about anything Toho ever tried. Like there was the effects were really good, and the fight was nice and physical. Like they purposely didn't give Gamera like his fire breath. Like that was like a plot element. Like he hadn't developed it, and they actually kind of touched upon something that was touched upon in Gamera 3, where there's more than one Gamera. And, like that was the kind of the focus of this film. Like because in the opening you see Gamera in like 73 or 74, he's fighting a bunch of Gaos, and he pulls a Predator and goes self-destruct when all the Gaos are literally ripping him apart, and just destroys like a whole just almost citywide swath of land when it just goes nuclear. So, I mean, there's a lot of that element. Like Gamera, like the 90s added a ton of like cool stuff that never really got touched upon after those 3 films. And it looks like the Brave tried, but then they tried to pull that kid market in, which really had just gone to just completely over to Sentai by then. So, I mean, that's part of the reason why we don't have kaiju films right now. It's mostly because Sentai and Ultraman kind of took those slots, and kids over there in Japan are far more interested than what at least American older audiences are interested in seeing. So it's really sad. That's the point I'm trying to get.
Oh.
But new Gamera, I'm excited. I pop in those 90 films at least. I give the whole trilogy a watch at least twice a year. I love those films. They did that, and Part 3 was still hands down one of the greatest theatrical experiences of my life, because there was nothing like seeing that film for the first time in a theater full of like kaiju fans, like hardcore. They were just like, we need something, and this is coming a year off of the TriStar film. So everyone, especially in that line, there was like an air of like excitement waiting in that line at the Egyptian theater, and then the scene when Gamera and Iris are fighting for the first time in the sky, and Gamera's just knocking the crap out of Iris, and then when Iris starts shooting back all those beams, he goes into the saucer mode and starts like just smacking the crap out of him. That got the biggest standing ovation I've ever seen in any sort of film. Like I've been at a ton of screenings. I've never seen people go more nuts than that scene alone.
Right, right. I wished I was there in the theater with you. Sadly, was not.
Yes, a spry 17, 16-year-old Chris. That it really maybe I don't know if it's saying something about my life. If that's one of the highlights of it right there. Like if I die tomorrow, like if my life flashes before my eyes, it's just gonna be me like eating Oreos that moment and winning $5 on a roulette machine in Vegas, and then pretty much it'll just go blank.
Oh no. You know what? You have better. At least you went out with memories of things that you love.
This is true. All right. Okay. So closing out the show. If you are in the greater LA area next week, I will definitely be there. I don't. Are you going to try to attend, Jessica?
I am definitely going to try to attend.
Okay. Well, we'll definitely. I'm going to try it for Friday night. I don't know what your plans are at the moment, but there is a show going on in Burbank. I think it's the 5th or 6th annual. It's called Monsterpalooza. Unlike other horror shows where they focus on, just all aspects of horror, this is more of a monster makeup show where they celebrate the art of just monsters in general. So, a lot of practical effects, a lot of suit, acting. There's a ton of dealers there. There's a ton of makeup artists. They have a museum where effects studios bring in like props. Last time I was there, there was a massive Godzilla head next to Pumpkinhead. I was just like, I was pulling my hair out because I just couldn't contain myself. It is a fantastic show. It's in Burbank at the airport Marriott. Actually, where the first LA G Fest was held, and
Yes, and also Xena convention.
oh yes, and many a Hercules and Stargate conventions are held there too.
Yeah, so it's a wonderful. It's the Marriott Burbank next to the Burbank Airport. If you guys are trying to Google that.
It's a decent sized venue for the show, and I actually think the show last time I was there was I didn't get to go last year because I was out of town, but the year before when I went, like literally I in the 2 years I had been going before that, like the show has now outgrown that venue, but I think they got like a good standing there, so I think they feel they're like at the right amount, but I think they're at oversaturation to the point where they might need to expand to something bigger. We'll see when we go, but I bring it up because they will be having on Sunday a War of the Gargantuas reunion, and not only that, but Mr. Haru Nakajima himself will be there in person. So, and mind you, I'm not knock on wood. The man is getting up there in age, so this might be one of his last U.S. appearances. If you are in the area, I would definitely make it something to get out there and beat the man. He's super nice. I got to meet him 2 years ago, fulfilling a childhood dream, and got him to sign not only my War of the Gargantuas DVD and Rodan, but my classic original Godzilla. I'm going to take my Criterion this time to get signed. And then
You should.
yes,
You should.
and then not only that, but they have a ton of other Rutger Hauer's going to be there. You can't not want to meet Rutger Hauer. And then they also have Kenji Sahara, who's been in just you name a 60s Toho monster film, and he's been in it too. So he's gonna be part of the War of the Gargantuas panel as well. But yeah, it's a great show. Just the fact that it's something you could take your kids to. There's like nothing really inappropriate, and if anything, it might spark an imagination, inside your child somewhere where they're like, they grow up in a world where computer effects are everything now, but seeing something practical and seeing people run around in full makeup effects, like there was a full dude in a Gilman outfit last time I was there, and I was just like, this is art right here, and it is walking around and talking to me. Not only that, but the first year I went, I ran into the quartet of J.J. Abrams, Jon Favreau, Edgar Wright, and Guillermo del Toro. They had all come together to just check out the show. They were just checking it out. Abrams and Favreau were there with their kids, so I didn't bother to really talk to them because I have a standing. It's like, if you're here with your family, I'm not going to bug you. Del Toro and Wright, on the other hand, were free reign, in my rule book. So and Del Toro was super nice because he was getting hounded the most out of everybody there. But he was not like, hey, I just want to go look. He was just like, oh, thanks, thank. He was gracious to everyone that came up to him, and he took a couple of minutes out for everybody. So just another notch in how awesome that man is. But again, if you do have time, go check it out. You can buy tickets online at monsterpalooza.com. You can't buy tickets for the Saturday for the Saturday slot because that is their most popular day, so they purposely don't put tickets online for that. And if you do decide to go Saturday, get there exceptionally early. I'm talking like maybe 6:30, 7 o'clock, because the doors open at 11, and if you're there at that time, you're gonna be waiting like 2.5 hours to get in. That's how long it took me to get in last time. So that's just fair warning.
Yes, and I think it's also a great show for those who are in the cinematic arts of doing makeup, especially if you're gearing toward not just, celebrity makeup art or, doing it for the actors, but if you're into something for like Supernatural, Buffy, some sort of Pan's Labyrinth in the future, whether it's a little bit costume designing or just makeup creature effect type of, almost like Face Off.
Mm-hmm.
The reality show and competition. I think that's a really great show to also check out because, sure, you may not recognize them by face, but, Del Toro and all those people you'll know by face. However, there are people there that are veterans of the industry, and they're amazing. Seek those people out. Go through IMDb, look at the page, the Monsterpalooza page, and find them and ask them questions. Or maybe if you're blessed or lucky, they might mentor you. But I think that's a great place to start, not just the education where, you go to class, you do that, you go to film school, you hang out at a networking event. I think this is one of those, shows. It's not a trade show, but it's a great place for you to also meet people and talk to them. And like you said, it also sparks imagination in people. Maybe, some girl in her 20s will help with her career, but some little kid who's 7 might one day want to grow up, and be a special effects makeup artist.
Oh,
so I think it's great.
Yeah, because just everything's there. Like you could almost touch everything if you knew better than the fact that you're probably going to get your hand slapped or at least your face punched because you're screwing with someone's hard work. But yeah, they actually, there are companies there that will make you up. Like you could get into a makeup chair and they will do like a very detailed but basic, mock-up of something. Like there's a ton of people to get the vampire look done. There's a ton of people to get, they'll have like the werewolf head put on them and stuff like that. It's really awesome. And if you are a budding makeup artist, they do have portfolio reviews there too. So bring your work on down and get it checked out and see if your work holds up to snuff. So, all right.
And if not, always ask for constructive criticism. They'll help you.
Mm-hmm. Especially. So, that's going to do it for us for this week. Jessica, where can we find more of your work?
Yes. So, to start with Facebook, you can just go to Jessica and then all in one word, the comic book girl, and there's no spaces in between. I would love for you to Facebook inbox me so I know where you saw me or met me or heard my voice. Be like, oh, I heard you talking to Chris on Kaiju Kingdom podcast or something, because I'm so afraid that I might maybe I met you somewhere and for some reason I didn't remember you. Or, if we have no mutual friends in common, I might be like, why is there a random person? Maybe I know them from somewhere, so please inbox me and I will Facebook friend you. Also, thecomicbookgirl.com and girlongeek.com. Those are websites that will also link you to all of my other social media like Twitter and everything. So that's another really good way to find me. And also, if you want to stalk me physically, I might be at Monsterpalooza. I don't know. But you'll find out if we're Facebook friends. I might put it up on a Facebook status that I'll be there. And then I can stalk you, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
I can go and I can find you.
You can find all of my delicious work on therealmcast.com, where I do a good majority of the writing over there. I also host 2 podcasts on that particular site. One is called Take Two. That is hosted. I host that along with my good friend George Cadero, who is the editor of the site, and that's pretty much like a news show. We kind of do get a little off topic every once in a while, but for the most part, we talk about the week's big news, and then we have the regular Realmcast show, which is more of just a topic-based show. That's like every couple of weeks we do that one. And then you can always find stuff up on Panzer Crush, where we currently are hosting this podcast. And then for our other stuff, Jessica, where can the if they have any inquiries to the show, where can they send those inquiries to?
Yes, we have a lovely Facebook page, which is the Kaiju Kingdom Podcast. Chris, more regularly than I, puts up all kinds of, not just links to our podcast, you guys, but just updated news, small, items here and there, like the trailer of Enormous. And you can always comment there, and then we will find you. We will comment right back for you. We will reply. Because, let's all be friends. It'll be fun to do interactions. And also another purpose of this podcast is to connect with other kaiju-loving fellows out there. We are also, if you feel so inclined, we are the Kaiju Kingdom Podcast at gmail.com. If you don't want to post things publicly, you can always email us there. We also have a Tumblr, which is the Kaiju Kingdom Podcast.tumblr.com. And our Twitter is the Kaiju Kingdom, no podcast at the end, because there is a character limit. So we unfortunately can add that at the end. But it's just the Kaiju Kingdom.
Those last two, you should see some activity start rolling up again. I have been just horribly behind on updating the Tumblr, and that's all on me. It's between my actual job and the job of running Realmcast. Right now, it's just a lot easier to run the Facebook page at the moment. I do apologize if people keep going to that site. Horribly, I have not put up the last podcast link on there as well, so I do apologize. I'm going to try to get that updated as much as possible in the near future. And the Twitter should be up and rolling in the next couple of weeks. I know people who probably have followed us, and they're like, you guys don't do anything on here. That's also coming pretty soon, too. It's just a matter of, hey, we're Jessica and I are, we have our times stretched out outside of this, and, that's just the way that the dice have rolled. All right.
Yes, but we will definitely do better on that, and definitely see more activity from the both of us.
But in the meantime, if you really want to get a hold of us, the Facebook is the best way to go, or email. We do check the email regularly as well. So that will do it for us for this week. We thank you for tuning in. Please share this with a friend if you like it. Just spread the love. The better this does, the better the shows will be. We got some big things planned for the next couple of weeks, so just stay tuned. All right. So for myself and
Jessica,
we will see you next time.